How is the effort to defeat this Democrat left insanity going? Are we going to actually have Donald Trump win 4 more years? Is the country going to survive? And what is the best way to grill barbecue ribs in your backyard? To answer all of these questions, we are joined by our friend, Mr. Ned Ryan. He is the founder of American Majority PAC. He is also a political commentator. Mr. Ned, good to have you, sir.
Yeah, no, good to be back with you, Buck.
All right, man. You have been openly critical of how the campaign has been doing, the Trump campaign. This Mount Rushmore speech, I've been saying it. I know you've been sharing this on Twitter as well. Feels like a little bit of a reset, of a pivot. But what are we seeing now? And are things different? Are you hearing from the campaign that they understand the urgency of the moment and the need to shift the momentum against the statue toppling lunatics?
I am, Buck, actually. I got to the point where I decided I'd pick up the phone and call the boss and say, I need to share some concerns with you about the campaign. And specifically, Buck, I mean, I've been beating this drum since beginning of May that we got real issues in Florida and we got to address this. And so felt that maybe perhaps my concerns weren't being listened to. So I called up the big boss and said, forget polls. I can make a poll that could say whatever I wanted to. But you've got real numbers in Florida with absentee ballot requests that are problematic. And so we had a little conversation about that. And the next morning had a conversation with Jared. And you know, I'm trying to feed to the campaign the importance of dealing with the absentee ballot requests in Florida, because just to give you perspective, Buck, 40 days out from the 2016 elections, Republicans were up about 143,000 absentee ballot requests over Democrats. Currently, as of today, actually yesterday, we were down 323,000 absentee ballot requests. So we basically have to make up over 460,000 absentee ballot requests to get level to where we were in 2016. And the importance of this, just so people understand, if Republicans don't win the absentee ballot mail-in vote in Florida, which they have traditionally, and go into the lead after that, Democrats usually win the early in-person voting, and then we come back roaring back on election day. So I think they are addressing a bit in communication with the campaign just about some of these things. And also about the fact, Buck, and I say this as somebody that's done campaigns and a lot of this stuff for the last 20 years, you don't really run a national campaign. You're really running a 7 to 10 state race. And to focus on where they should be, forget New Mexico, forget Colorado, focus on Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, and then throw in Minnesota. But that's where you should be focused. Those are the states you need to win. You win those states, you win re-election.
Ned, how are they doing on messaging? The president has, I think, learned a lesson here about the law enforcement reform gesture, as if that's really what these angry mobs want, and that would be enough even if they got it. Do you think that has he got the fire back in the belly, the fight? It hasn't felt like we've been seeing 2016 Trump until the Mount Rushmore speech.
Yeah, this is absolutely correct, Buck. And again, that was one of the topics of conversation I had with him, and said, sir, you've got the best instincts I've seen in politics in years. You got to go back to trusting them. You got to go back to what won you election in 2016. And I got to tell you, that Mount Rushmore speech was phenomenal, Buck. It was really, truly a defense of the American Republic. I love the line. In fact, it kind of reminded me of something I'd written about in my book, where we are the pinnacle of Western civilization. We truly are the greatest nation the world has ever seen. But he had to recite American history. I was telling my wife this, and I tweeted about this. He literally had to go to Mount Rushmore on a nationally televised speech and recite American history about the 4 figures behind him, because we're not teaching history, because we're not teaching who we are as a people, where we came from. We are truly one of the greatest. We're the longest lasting constitutional republic in the history of the world. It didn't happen by chance. I mean, it was very intentional. The decisions made over 240 years ago, in Philadelphia, Declaration and then Philadelphia, very intentional. Our founders knew what they were doing. And I tell people this, Buck, the thing that we have to understand, and the reason we've got to fight for this republic, what the founders put in place is they got human nature right. They got it absolutely right. They didn't even trust themselves. I tell people they knew sitting in that room in Philadelphia, 1787, that they were going to be the presidents, the vice presidents, the senators, the representatives, the judges. They didn't trust themselves with consolidated power. They wanted to diffuse it. They had the separation of powers at the federal level, the idea of federalism. all of these things. That's what we're up against. We are up against, with Black Lives Matter and these very aggressive Marxists, they're not about tearing down Confederate statues or defunding police. They want to tear down the old order of the American Republic and usher in a new Marxist one. That's really what the battle is. And that's why I love the messaging. It's really Americanism versus socialism. And I hope that he hits that theme from now until November.
Speaking of Ned Ryan, founder of American Majority PAC, also a senior fellow at the American Greatness website. Ned, you mentioned the places where this election will be determined, and that certainly is the list, right? Anybody who's following this knows that those are the states. Right. How are we actually looking in those states? How's our infrastructure? I mean, it doesn't feel at all like, pretty soon here we're going to be in August, and August is then going to be September, and then it's like it's the election, my friends. Yeah. I mean, we're there.
Well, I've been fighting, not only highlighting the absentee ballot problem in Florida, but saying you got to bring back your 2016 team. And thankfully, Buck, they did that last week. They brought in Susie Wiles, who ran Florida for Trump in 2016. They brought her back. She'll bring back a team. They're going to really hit the ground hard, I think, July 15th. This is a good sign. And I told the campaign yesterday, like the last 4 days have given me a lot of encouragement. First of all, the reset on the messaging at Mount Rushmore, the shift on the Florida staff and bringing back Susie. Those are two major shifts. I even told some people at the White House, I think your odds just went up 5 to 10% overall just by fixing Florida. So I'm optimistic. And I tell people this, Buck. I mean, again, going back to poll numbers, I'm a poll skeptic. But if you really want to understand what's taking place, don't look at the national polls. Look at state polls and look at state polls of likely voters. So you look at Wisconsin, Trafalgar is a very reliable poll, shows Trump up by 1, shows it dead even in Florida. So start to look at the state polls of registered voters, and you're going to get a little bit of a different story. Do I think Trump is down? Absolutely. Do I think he's down nearly as much as people want to say? Absolutely not. And the other thing, too, to remember, Buck, is this. I think Trump gets a poll tax. Pollsters call voters. They ask, are you going to vote for Trump? They don't want to admit it to a pollster. They go into that polling booth. They pull the lever for Trump. And I actually think I've seen a poll where likely voters said by 11 points, right now they would vote for Biden. Who do they think is going to win in November? Trump by 2. I mean, that's a 13-point swing among likely voters in the state of Florida. Tells you that a lot of people don't want to admit to a pollster they're going to vote for Trump. They go into that polling booth. I think a lot of them are going to pull that lever for Trump.
Are you hearing any sense, and I know you talked to the big guy himself, you spoke to the president recently about the campaign, which is great. I'm happy to hear that there are sane voices that know this game, know how this is done, that are weighing in at this stage. Because clearly, look, June was a bad month for the president, no question about it. So right. July needs to start to switch, start to turn in his favor if we're going to have a real shot going into the actual election. Are you hearing anybody who's talking to him about how maybe you need to bring back some of the old sauce? I don't mean Trump personally. I mean some of the people around him, the more Bannon-esque folks here who were in touch with the base, because it feels like who is Trump's base whisperer right now that's involved in the campaign or that's involved in the public messaging?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think you make a really good point, Buck. And the reason I'm actually even talking about having a conversation with Trump is you see all these reports of Karl Rove and some of these other people going in. I'm like, no, there are people that are with the base that are going in and advising. And I think I think he has woken up. I mean, I think the last couple of weeks have been huge for him when he's realized, like you said, beginning of this interview, some of this police reform, this executive order made nobody happy, was not a good move. I think he's realized that, and he's got to go back to trusting his own instincts. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I'm trying to be more vocal and be more involved, is to go in and say, hey, I'm connected with the base, not only with American Majority. I mean, that's what we do. We're out in the States. We're working the grassroots. But, sir, I've been with you from pretty much, the very beginning, and actually going on, and you know this, you've been on some of these channels, MSNBC, CNN, and fighting the good fight. I'm with you. You've got to get reelected. And if you don't get reelected, it will be a descent into darkness. And don't count on Republicans standing with you. And I think that's one thing that I think he's realizing more and more. It really is all about him. He should not expect Republicans in D.C. to stand with him. That's fine. There are a lot of people out here that are for him, that understand the implications of what's going on in November. We are with him all the way. He makes some of these other changes at the campaign, changes his messaging, starts to really focus on these things. I like his chances, Buck. I mean, I think he's got a legitimate chance. As I told people, he's down, he's not dead. He changes some of these things. We move in the right direction. And the other thing, too, that I remind people, Buck, that we're kind of not talking about, but should be, the Durham bar stuff got pushed back. I think you're going to see some of this stuff come out in August, and I think it's going to be pretty staggering. And the narrative change that will take place, get the fundamentals right with the campaign. I think there's going to be some really positive narrative changes that are going to take place. Get the fundamentals. Let's go for it. Let's see what happens over the next 16 weeks.
Ned Ryan, founder of American Majority PAC. Ned, great to have you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Buck.
What does diversity and inclusion mean according to the people who teach these courses and now get to dictate the policies of corporate America? Well, what does diversity and inclusion really mean? You know, we hear about it all the time, but how do you stay on the right side of this, and how do you make sure you're okay? Well, let's take a look into one example. The city of Seattle had a session that we now have through a Freedom of Information or public records request. We have information about it. Hat tip Christopher Rufo, who did the due diligence to get all this research together. He's contributing at City Journal, contributing editor. So Christopher Rufo pulls together the city of Seattle, and here's the thread that he wrote on this on Twitter, so that we can know, what does it mean to go through this diversity training? What are the kind of concepts that they're not just being raised? You are told to adopt this. I mean, you are told to agree to this stuff or else. Well, here's what he's got. The city of Seattle held a training session for white employees called Interrupting Internalized Racial Superiority and Whiteness. So I did a public records request to find out exactly what this means. Let's go through this together in the thread. First, I mean, this is amazing stuff. Diversity trainers informed white participants that objectivity, individualism, intellectualization, and comfort are all vestiges of internalized racial oppression. That's right. So when you talk about individualism or objectivity, that's a racial oppression term that's used. Wow. Christopher Rufo goes on. Sometimes both sides of the coin are oppression. Are white employees speaking too much? That's probably the internalized racial superiority of imposition or paternalism. Are white employees speaking too little? That's oppression, because silence is violence. I mean, this is real. This is a public records request for the city of Seattle. This is what they teach city employees in these insane leftist enclaves. Maybe CNN can go, ha, 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 and have a big laugh about this. Yeah? Does this seem like it's reasonable stuff? Does this seem sane to any sane person? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Oh, but it goes on. What's next? The city of Seattle diversity trainers encourage white employees to practice self-talk that affirms their complicity in racism and work on, this is a quote, undoing your own whiteness. Racism is not our fault, but we are responsible. Practicing self-talk that affirms our complicity in racism. Wow, this is amazing stuff. Talk through your struggles in the work of undoing your own whiteness and showing up as allies and accomplices so you can challenge and support each other. This is what people are being told. You better confront your whiteness. Confess and expunge your whiteness or else. Tax dollars, folks, going to this. And remember, this is not a mandate now. These are not things that you get to ignore and say, that was 15, maybe 10 years ago. The diversity trainers come into college and they tell all this stuff. And then, the frat bros are going to frat bro, and other people are going to, the artsy kids are going to do that. And everyone kind of just goes, and it's a free-for-all where everyone's just drinking too much and, having a little too much casual sex on campus, right? Like, that's what used. Now it's, oh no, you better listen to all this diversity stuff because you're going to be held to account on this. You better be willing to stand up in class and denounce your white privilege and your whiteness or else. Christopher Rufo continues here. Remember, this is what he polled from the city of Seattle. It's amazing. What happens after the thought exercises? It's time to do the work. The trainers ask white employees to let go of comfort, guaranteed physical safety, social status, and relationships with some other white people. They then go through a flow chart that outlines how white people cause harm to people of color, show up small and inauthentic, and are unable to access their humanity. My friends, this is just straight up ideological brainwashing with brainless slogan, right? This is just absurd. But this is not different than I'm sure what's being trained to your kids if they're in college, maybe even in high school now if they're in public school. I don't know. I don't have kids. This is what diversity training stuff is. This is being forced into people's faces, and you must not only do you sit there and listen and be respectful of this idiocy, you are told to comply with its demands or else. Show your appreciation for it. Celebrate it. Not even enough to bend the knee when the left tells you to. Bend the knee, look up at them and say, thank you so much for taking away my individual thought, my freedom, and my free expression. Thank you so much for forcing contradictory, absurd, and even immoral beliefs down my throat. Thank you so much. This is amazing. This is wonderful. How can I help in your work here? How can I be an ally and an accomplice? Mr. Rufo continues. In case some people are wondering if they're really white, they pass out a data sheet called Assimilation into Whiteness. Are you of Arab, Jewish, Finnish, German, Italian, Armenian, or Irish descent? You're definitely white. No getting out of this. The invitation for this training was strictly segregated, this is stunning, to white city employees only. The goal is to teach them how they have complicity in the system of white supremacy and must be held accountable to black, indigenous, and people of color. End quote. How do you know when you've been successful in the training? When you implicate yourself in racism, when other white people may be angry, and when you have stopped your white normative behavior. That's right. Apologize for and erase your whiteness as fast as you can, or else you're complicit in racism. This is what people are being taught with tax dollars as public employees. Can you be charged with a hate crime for painting over painted words on public property? The answer in the Bay Area of San Francisco, in the city of Martinez, is apparently yes. Yes, you can. ABC News here with the story. A white California couple has been charged with a hate crime after they were seen on video defacing a Black Lives Matter mural. Two people identified by the district attorney as, et cetera, et cetera. In a video of this, the man identified as Nelson can be heard saying there's no racism. It's a leftist lie. No one wants Black Lives Matter here. He was wearing Trump 2020 garb and yelled, "Make America Great Again." Look, this is a political fight. This is not a hate crime, folks. Now, if we're going to be letter of the law people, you know, if it's a mural and labor and time went into that, you know, could this be considered petty vandalism? Yes, right? I mean, if you have permission to paint something somewhere, right? If I have a grocery store and I want a mural painted on the side and someone comes along with black spray paint and sprays all over it, that's not okay. But a hate crime? Come on. But this is what they're trying to do. That's the whole, don't you see, that's the whole purpose of Black Lives Matter, is to take the left's Marxism and root it in identity politics, where they can always use the most strident and devastating attacks on their opponents possible by claiming that everything against this movement is racism, is a hate crime. That's what they're trying to do. And they're being successful. That public property is now taking what is a current political movement. And right, I mean, this is no, what if Republican towns wanted to start writing MAGA all over public buildings? Yeah, we're going to have a MAGA mural in the city, in town square. Does that seem right to people? Oh, but BLM is not about politics. I mean, we're really going to play this game? Yeah, they're going to play this game. Dishonesty. So much dishonesty. Black Lives Matter is about a lot more than just police violence against black men. As we know, police murders of black men is really what it's about. They say. But it's not. It's about all these other things. All this other stuff. We know this. But that's right. Mess with so they can deface monuments, do all these things. The left is fine with that. But if you paint over the mural, I think it was just a sign that said, just painted words, Black Lives Matter. If you paint over that, it's a hate crime. You can go to prison for a year for this. I mean, this is not good, folks. Free expression, free thought. If they can wrap their political ideology in this protective covering of, BLM, any opposition of BLM is a hate crime. Well, look, this is why I find hate crime legislation to be very problematic. Crimes are crimes. Things that aren't criminal behavior, absent this assumed intent, it's an issue. Right? And this is how you get people to say, I saw a rope. It's a noose. No, it's actually used by construction workers to lift up, cans of paint, which anybody would know if they weren't, so hysterical about it. My friends, they will use every tool. The left, the Democrats will use everything that they have to silence you, to defeat you, and to make you do what they want, and to be in power, and to feel like they're the good people. Even as the society around them is crumbling in some of the most precious parts of our society, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of religion, are just under assault from these people. They are. Democrats are attacking all of this. They don't believe in any of these freedoms. They want control to tell you what to do all the time, everywhere. Liberalism is a lie that the left tells people. They are illiberal. They are anti-liberty. Don't forget it.
It's time for roll call.
All right. Facebook.com/Buck Sexton. If you want to email us, teambuck@iheartmedia.com. We love getting the messages. Please make sure you're also bookmarking and checking in at bucksexton.com. And make sure that you share our Buck Brief, which will be up on Facebook today. And the best thing you can do is share it. I like the likes, but the sharing is the best. Please share it to your own page if you don't mind. Does us a big solid, because then your friends can see it, and then your friends can share it, and so on and so forth. Producer Mark, am I forgetting anything important?
No, but thank you for telling everyone how Facebook works. We appreciate it, as always.
Just in case some folks out there need a little technical assistance. That's what I'm here for.
If you're tech support, then the world's going to lose Wi-Fi.
That's probably true. Forget about China and the race for 5G. We got bigger problems. Well, let's get to it. Robert writes, Buck, producer Mark, gray-bearded millennial here with hair that brings female barbers almost to tears when I shave it off every 6 months. Love the show. I'm in Baltimore market. WCBM, great station in Baltimore. You come in on the evening and sound like I'm having a conversation with a friend. The host you replaced shall remain nameless, but he sounds like a grouchy old man who lectures you before yelling at you to get off his lawn. Well played, Robert. Well played.
What are you, some kind of a statist? Huh?
I bought a pair of Raycon earbuds just so I could listen to you and Rush at work. My work truck does not have a radio or anything else that may be possibly confused with a creature comfort. Man, thank you so much for buying the Raycon earbuds and for supporting me and for listening in the Baltimore area and for enjoying this. And you are my friend, and thank you for listening to me and Producer Mark every day, and also knowing good radio when you hear it. Appreciate that. John. Hey, Buck and Producer Mark. I just wanted to share a short anecdote with you about this year's Independence Day. While our local Chamber of Commerce canceled the parade and fireworks celebration this year, the proud patriots that inhabit our state decided that this would just not do. As I drove home across the prairie after a day of celebration and fellowship with friends and family, the night sky was lit up with what was easily tens of thousands of dollars of illegal fireworks. They shot up from every neighborhood in every direction, lighting up the sky and roaring with a defiance that would have made our forefathers proud. I had never felt such a swelling of patriotic pride before, but there was a solidarity in knowing that the American spirit is still alive and well. You just need to walk outside and look for it. As far as I'm concerned, this should set the standard for how all future Independence Days are celebrated, shields high. So I assume John is writing from California, right? Because I saw, Mark, you saw that video, right? Where they were lighting up all the fireworks in the sky even though they weren't supposed to?
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Hot take, fireworks suck.
Can I just tell you, we're going to get this is a rare moment where you and I are contrarian together. I'm not a fireworks person. I don't get it. I don't get it. Look, if you're with your family in the right circumstance, watching a fireworks display together on Independence Day, cool, I get it. But people that are like, yeah, I want to go play with a lot of fireworks, I don't understand. Firework goes boom. Who cares?
I'll take it a step further. Even how most towns and cities will have like a gathering on a normal year, obviously not this year, with the big fireworks display. I'm going to schlep all the way to some park in the middle of nowhere and watch some lights go off in the sky and stand up for a couple hours in a crowd of people and have to park my car 2 miles away? Who the hell wants to do that?
I don't get it.
It's so boring.
I don't get it. So, yeah, makes no sense. Makes no sense. Oh, but no sense to me, I should say. I mean, look, people love it. They love it. That's just not my. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. There are other things I like. This is not one
to
thing.
Each their own. If you like it, sure.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. But
me.
I just, I remember I was at a college house party a long time ago, and people they got drunk and they went out in the yard and they started firing. I think it's Roman candles at each other. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And I was like, what? I don't get this. Someone I think just died because they got in New York because a firework exploded near their chest or something. And wasn't there a Giants player who basically?
I was just gonna say Jason Pierre-Paul. He lost a finger or 2 fingers even.
Yeah, he blew part of his
fireworks.
hand off playing with fireworks. I gotta say, I did some rudimentary explosives training. With explosives, C4 and det cord and all that stuff. And guns, to me, it's always like if you've got good muzzle and trigger discipline and you understand safety, you can be around guns and be totally safe. Explosives, you're always, there's a reason why people that build their own detonators tend to be, build their own blasting caps, I should say, often lose a finger or two. There's a reason, because that stuff is really unstable and it's really easy. There have even been, it's rare, but cases where static electricity can set off a charge, and people have died during military training because of that, where you have something and they didn't actually hit the plunger, so to speak. That stuff can happen. Explosives kind of, that puts me on edge. Knives, guns, train, you know what you're doing, fine. Explosives, though, I don't know. Some of the guys out, I know there's some EOD techs who are probably listening to this right now. How you guys and gals, how you do what you do, I don't even know. I think that may be, if I was told that I had to take a combat role, I think EOD tech would be the one that I would just have the hardest time doing. I don't know. That would just, sign me up. I'd rather train to do sniper stuff. I'd rather train to, clear houses, whatever it is. EOD tech, I don't know how they do it. I think that's why that movie, what was the movie years ago in Iraq, won the Best Picture Oscar. Remember what I'm talking about?
The Hurt Locker?
Yes, The Hurt Locker. That's why everybody watched it. I was just like, the whole time, like, oh my gosh, because explosives are scary. All right. Courtney. Hey, Buck. I was getting my nails done here in the suburbs of North Dallas. Yeehaw! Okay, no, I was told don't do any more yeehaw. Not allowed. I love you, Texas.
Dallas is a city. They don't say yeehaw.
Come on, man. I'm from New York. We think everyone's like, hey, howdy, I'm wearing a Stetson and riding a horse. And I'm just kidding. We don't think
And that's why they call us Yankees.
Yeah, that's true. I actually spent a lot of time in Dallas because when I worked at the Blaze for Glenn Beck, I was in Dallas probably every 2 or 3 months. So great town, great food, great town, really nice people. I'm a fan. Austin, where we have our wonderful affiliate KLBJ, of course, is another town that I need to spend some time in. This fall I'm going. I asked my nail tech, Courtney writes, about how he felt about the whole mask wearing thing. He said he hated it, then proceeded to tell me about his friend who recently went to be tested for COVID. He said he checked in and waited for over an hour and then left. Later that evening, he got a call saying his test that he never even got came back positive for COVID-19. I have a feeling this kind of thing is happening a lot. So Courtney's telling me that, I have heard that the testing takes longer than people think that it will. So you can get tested and wait 3 or 4 days to get a result, which feels like, this is also why, as I've been telling you, I'm right about this. The tracing thing has been preposterous from the start. Yeah, let's just meet with everybody you've met with. I mean, they're going to be tracing people for the next 1,000 years, given how many cases and how many contacts. It's absurd. Absurd. Oh, we do it for STDs. Yeah, well, if you're trying to trace syphilis, hopefully the list is a little smaller of people that have been put at risk. Right? Tracing some diseases is a lot easier than tracing a coronavirus. Nate, isn't the more uncomfortable part of that apology from Prince Harry that his family was in charge of sending most of the slaves to America? Shields high. Oh, Nate, you raise a good point, which is that the British were the initial transportation arm of the slave trade into the Americas. Not the only one, but they were the major one for the Atlantic slave trade. And yes, indeed, of course, Britain is therefore deeply complicit in American slavery, even though our liberals in America like to pretend like America's the only place that had slaves. We invented, if you listen to Senator Tim Kaine, we invented slavery, which, as we know, is not true. And anybody who even has a passing familiarity with the Bible would know that we did not invent slavery. It's been around, unfortunately, for thousands of years. Peter, hey, Buck, producer Mark. To say we don't have a royal class is a misnomer. Our senators and congresspeople, because of the lack of term limits, have become princesses and princes. I mean, they're a ruling class. I think that's fair. But remember, a prince or a princess is going to have that concentrated authority of a monarchy. Usually, I guess not really in the Saudi context where there's like 1,000 princes and princesses. But I don't know. I see what you're saying, Peter. It's like the Jeopardy judges. I will allow it. What do you think, producer Mark?
Yeah, sure. I think there should be term limits.
Yeah. Tie goes to Team Buck on this one. No, well, of course I agree on term limits, but I mean that we have a monarchical class.
Well, they become well-known people because they've been in office.
Yeah, a royal class. Look, I agree with the sentiment. Alex, Trump had a great speech at Mount Rushmore, but then feels the need to go after Bubba Wallace and NASCAR. I don't get it. Alex, I don't get it either. I feel like Trump is that guy that you're in the bar with, that that if you get into a bar fight, he's the best guy you could ever have. But, every once in a while, he, picks a fight with a lamppost when he's had one too many and breaks his hand. And you're just like, well, that wasn't really necessary. He's still a great fighter and you still love the guy. But, it's not a perfect situation. Not a perfect situation. Brandon, hey, Buck. First off, love the show. Second, I live in Cincinnati, and starting July 9th, we were supposed to wear masks within our city limits. Then on July 8th, our governor declared that it is also mandatory to wear masks throughout parts of the state. If you don't, you get slapped with a $25 fine, and they released a number to the public for people to call and tattle on you like we are back in the second grade. Keep doing what you're doing, sir. Well, Brandon, that is certainly troubling and annoying, but that's what we're heading to now. We're all being, talk about complicit, we're all being forced to be complicit in the anti-COVID nanny state. I hope that changes. Please go to bucksexton.com. Check out on facebook.com/bucksexton, the Buck Brief. Share it. Back tomorrow. Oh, also go to youtube.com/bucksexton. Subscribe. Shield time.